I really believe every Black woman needs to know how to retain length with their type 4 hair. This is something I have only learned over the last 6 years of my life. And there are so many women who still have no idea how to retain length and how to see longer hair if that's their desire. I've managed to reach waist length hair, which I did cut back to mid back length. So, yeah, if you want longer hair, then listen to these 9 length retention habits that actually work. Firstly, is to wash your hair consistently. I want to let you know that it really starts, well, actually, it doesn't start from your scalp, but that's a great place to begin in terms of length retention. The cleaner your scalp is, the healthier your hair is going to be. So it's really, really important to keep your scalp really, really clean by washing your hair on a regular schedule. Water is going to be your best friend. Water is what keeps your hair hydrated. And so I really encourage you to make sure you are washing your hair. Often, what happens is because of all the products that we put on our hair, because of our natural sebum coming from our scalp, we end up getting product buildup, not just on our strands, but also on our scalp. And so it's really important to just, reset and refresh. The second thing is to keep your hair hydrated and moisturized. Ideally, you want to hydrate and moisturize your hair before it becomes dry. So you really want to get to know what your hair actually feels like when it's really dry compared to when it is hydrated and moisturized. A key thing is don't wait until your hair feels brittle and it's breaking. And every time you tug it every so slightly, it really just breaks. You don't want to wait until then to be moisturizing your hair because that's just too late. So again, just get to know when your hair needs hydration, when it needs moisture. You want to find a moisture schedule that works for you. For me, that schedule is every 5 days if I'm wearing twists and every 7 days if I'm wearing plaits. And I wash my hair every other week. Now, if you're someone that washes your hair weekly, then you may not even need to rehydrate within that week. That's just for you to understand and know your hair. But if you wash probably more or less often than weekly, should I say, you probably will likely need to respray your hair with some kind of liquid, water, aloe vera juice, rose water, distilled water, something like that, to just hydrate your hair and then follow it up with your normal moisture routine. The key thing about this is that dry hair breaks much more easily. And so if your hair breaks off at the ends, then you are not retaining any length. Okay, the third thing is to keep your hair stretched most of the time. For me, that looks like wearing twists and wearing plaits. That's typically what I tend to do. But you might want to introduce twist outs, braid outs, banding, chunky plaits, blow drying your hair if it really shrinks up. Just whatever you need to do to keep your hair stretched. If you allow your hair to shrink up, it's going to increase the likelihood of tangles and breakage as well, because every curl point or kink in our hair is actually a weak point. And therefore, stretching it helps to reduce that. So it helps to reduce breakage. Number four is to protect your ends. Our ends are the oldest and the weakest parts of our hair. So if it works for you, you may need to seal your ends with maybe flaxseed gel or a different gel or whatever it is. It may even be a thick butter. Now, I know that my ends are very high porosity. They dry in like zero point 0.4 seconds. So I personally like to seal them with a butter or usually a flaxseed gel. Ideally as well, you can try to reduce how much friction you experience from your clothes and maybe rough fabrics. So, for example, the way that I'm wearing my hair now isn't really ideal because the ends of my hair are rubbing on my clothes, and that is something that does cause breakage. Again, if you're not doing it too often, like myself, I don't typically wear my hair out, then it's not going to be that much of a big deal. And you are generally going to get some breakage along your journey, but you definitely want to reduce the amount of breakage so that it's not excessive. Once it becomes excessive, that's when we notice we're not retaining any length because it's just breaking off at the same rate or even quicker than it's growing from our scalp. That's not good for length. Okay, number five is to detangle your hair with patience and intention. I would encourage try to use a product that has plenty of slip. And this is not sponsored, but the African Pride, I think it's called the pre shampoo. That product is brilliant for detangling just before you're washing your hair. Feel free to try it. Ideally, work in sections. Also, maybe try and finger detangle your hair firstly, where possible, before using any tools. Don't rush through knots, don't just like brush through your knots, because that means you're breaking them out. You're breaking your strands out in order to get through the knot. You want to use your fingers to take the hair strands, take individual strands out of the knot and release the knot rather than just totally breaking it. Okay, number 6 is going to be handle your hair less, right? Every time we manipulate our hair, that creates an opportunity for more breakage. So people have always said, if you want to grow your hair longer, leave it alone. And I agree with that to an extent. It can be taken, well out of proportion in terms of never, ever, ever touching your hair, never washing your hair. That's ridiculous. You still, of course, have to keep up with your hair. You still have to wash your hair regularly. You still have to keep it stretched in some way. You still have to refresh it when it gets matted, all those kinds of things. So it's not quite totally leave your hair alone. But what I would say is you definitely want like low manipulation rather than no manipulation. But once you do have your hair in something like twists or plaits, then ideally you can actually leave your hair without constantly redoing it. You don't have to be constantly redoing those twists and plaits unless they need to be redone. Try to resist unnecessarily touching your hair. I do have a bad habit of this, particularly the back of my hair. I just sit there and I'm just like, that's how the back of my hair has been breaking out. But I've been working on strengthening it and, growing it out, and I'm seeing great results so far. Yeah, you definitely want to handle your hair less, because manipulating dry hair is going to cause unnecessary breakage. And it's usually the ends that are the driest, and that's what's going to break off. Right, number 7. Okay, sleep with your hair protected. You want to wear a satin, silk, bonnet, scarf, pillowcase, something like that, that is going to help reduce friction. It's going to help reduce tangles. It's going to prevent you from losing moisture overnight. Okay, so that's a really easy one. Hopefully, it's something that you do already, because for me anyway, that's something that was just ingrained into me as a child. At first, I was wearing a stocking foot. That's what we used to call it, which was basically just tights on my head. But thankfully, we knew to upgrade to something of, a better material. Okay, number 8. I am struggling to do the fingers now. Number 8 is to trim damaged ends when needed. Holding onto split ends or heavily damaged ends can often lead to more breakage. And that's something that I have experienced myself. I would say that healthy ends do help you to retain length better than damaged ends. But I am no way going to sit on here and tell you how often you need to trim your hair. That is definitely for you to work out yourself. Okay, number 9 is to stay consistent for months, not days. Okay. Stay consistent by building a routine, right? This is not going to happen overnight. You're not going to have one perfect wash day and then suddenly you're like, yeah, I'm expecting my hair to grow 4 inches. Doesn't work that way. But if you do need support to build a routine, then I can help you with that. And just click the link down below in the pinned comment. Okay, now that you know how to retain length, as long as you are staying consistent to this process, then you can actually begin to explore ways to improve and increase your hair growth. So if you're interested in that, the video is on the screen now. Watch that next.